guys, what's going on? How y'all doing this Wednesday evening? Hope you guys are continuing as well as I keep saying to stay safe right now with what's going on. But this is the Club of the Man 1993, and I am here live for another live review as we're doing pretty good on catch up with these pay-per-views here, guys. We are now live to talk about Survivor Series 2019 that took place back on November 24th, 2019 at the Allstate Arena in Chicago, Illinois. This was, of course, I think the 33rd edition of Survivor Series. I think they said it was. I think they said this is the second longest running pay-per-view for WWE in history. Even though I don't really see Survivor Series as being that special anymore, because of the fact that, once again, as I keep saying, that it's just nothing but constantly just a bragging rights show. Which, again, I think the first year we did it in 2016, I liked it. It was fresh, it was different, it felt special. The whole idea of, brand supremacy, and we wanted to, just show that SmackDown was a better brand. Then, after a while, it kind of just went flat, and it did not really feel that special anymore. This past Survivor Series, we actually had NXT involved as well. And I will say, if it was not for NXT, I'd say this would be just an average edition, just an average show. But because, NXT was involved, the right people got put over. The right people also, at least got some moments. Like, of course, Keith Lee in the men's Survivor Series match. But I gotta reiterate constantly, WWE needs to stop making Survivor Series that brand supremacy pay-per-view. Because with the superstar shakeups and whatnot, most of these guys we've seen face each other how many times? I unfortunately do not have the graphics anymore. But back when I was streaming live on Twitter, I actually did throw together a fantasy match card for Survivor Series. That definitely featured not just, all triple threat, because that's the thing that's bothered me automatically. It was all triple threat matches for supremacy, and I'm like, that's stupid. We did, of course, have the world titles being defended a few times, and which I'm glad we did, because it was not the right time for any of these guys. Well, Brock Lesnar could have taken a pinfall loss. Like Adam Cole losing or The Fiend losing, we were not going to have that happen, and I'm pretty sure Vince is not going to have Brock Lesnar lose either on this show. So that's why I'm pretty sure that's why they avoided doing that. Instead, we had 3 title matches on the show. Well, 4, counting the one on the pre-show. But WWE, I appreciate you for trying something a little bit different when getting NXT involved and putting NXT over on this show, which is why I gave this show a little bit of a better grade than I would have. But let's be real. Again, they got to stop doing this. I did read one rumor, though. Apparently in 2018, Survivor Series was not supposed to be Raw versus SmackDown. But it only ended up being because of Roman Reigns getting sick. Well, what's the difference? Like, why couldn't you just continue on with your plans? I don't know why if that was the case, true or not, but who the heck knows? So, because the right people got put over, where they won the match or, had, moments, like Keith Lee was dubbed the moment maker after, this Survivor Series. This would have just been just an average show to me. But because of that, I gave it a little bit more of a better grade than I was originally given. Again, without the NXT portion, this has been just a C show, I would have thought. But we still had some good moments, but also some weird moments as well. We will talk about for sure with this review. We got some people in the live chat. Let's see what we got here. First, we got Tyler saying that main event sucked. Definitely the wrong main event for sure for this show. We'll talk about that when we get there. And how what would have been acceptable for that being the main event if something else would have happened. I'll talk about that for sure. And we've got, first time since I returned to YouTube, we've got my good friend Robbie One Kenobi saying, Hang on. I gotta do it. Purple hoodie is going on. Wearing this hoodie all the time ever since I lost my blue hoodie on the bus coming home from New York last year, and the Megabus people never got back to me about finding it. But Robbie, I shall pull off what we used to pull off because this is the first time you're back on my streams since returning to YouTube. Mikey, it's good to see you on YouTube again, buddy. Because remember, as I said, back when Bobby Lashley feuded with Sami Zayn, I thought the way he would talk to Sami Zayn, I thought he sounded like Barney when he would be going, Sammy, it's good to see you again, buddy. And it's true. You did. But that's for you, Robbie. Anything for you guys. Let me see here. Fantasy match card. Hey, Mike, you steal my gimmick? Well, reason why I guess I called it a fantasy match card stream back when I did it on Twitter is because I was originally going to do card predictions for it, but I did not get the time to do card predictions. I think that's why I kind of treated it more like a fantasy video rather than, a card prediction video. Trust me, it was not as creative and not as, sharp as your fantasy videos would be, Robbie, for sure. But, that's just kind of why I did it that way. But, if I ever do find it, maybe I'll do like a little video and talking about, what matches I would have loved to have seen. Like, I know, if I can think of a couple, I know I put on there for Daniel Bryan and Johnny Gargano. I think I still had Brock Lesnar and Rey Mysterio. I think I had Adam Cole and AJ Styles on there. I had the women having a 5-on-5 elimination match, and what else? I know there was a couple. I think I had Velveteen Dream and Nakamura for the IC title. Okay, that one I definitely thought of you from that Takeover Tokyo video you did, fantasy booking video, Robbie. But I try to remember. There was a couple I know the one match I kind of kept the same but changed up was the triple threat tag team match with the tag team champions. I added in Imperium from NXT UK. I thought that'd be a great match to add them in for sure to spice that match up a little bit. But I'm trying to remember. There was definitely a bunch of matches I would have rather seen to make this more interesting, rather than just all triple threat match, making this triple threat mania. I am still waiting for the day WWE has a pay-per-view and calls it triple threat. This basically could have been triple threat right here, because they did it in 2010 when they did Fatal 4-Way, and then they have triple. One day you're gonna be welcome to WWE Triple Threat. But anyways, but let's get rolling on with this show here. So, again, this is Chicago, Allstate Arena. The crowd was super hot for TakeOver War Games. They definitely took a while to get a little started for this show, and probably because the crowd was burned out. They had SmackDown on Friday, War Games the night before. Then this show that was not going to top off War Games, that's for sure. Well, maybe because NXT was involved, but then again, NXT was pulling double duty for some wrestlers. Some people were in the War Games match, some people were not. Whereas some people like Adam Cole, who literally took one of the nastiest bumps in the world and wrestled the next night, sold the injuries very well, I will say, in the match he had. So obviously it was very intriguing to see how effective the NXT guys would pull off. And I would say, for the most part, again, they were the winning brand on this show, and I thought they looked excellent. There was one match, though, I felt NXT definitely should have won. Ended up being on the pre-show out of the blue, but we'll have to wait and see when I mention that when I do get there. But let's talk about the pre-show real quick. I didn't know who all was in this match, but I just remember reading the results. The first match in the pre-show apparently was some cross-brand tag team battle royale, and all I know is that I didn't watch the pre-show. All I know is that Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler won the match. I think this was probably meant, because I did hear rumors originally at TLC, it was supposed to be the New Day facing Roode and Ziggler for the SmackDown tag titles. And I think I actually did originally predict that in my card predictions, I think, originally, but the reason why the match did not happen was because of Robert Roode being suspended for violating the wellness policy. So I'm guessing that this was probably setting up for that, with them winning this cross-brand battle royale. So now here's the thing also. This year, I gotta mention this also, because I remember what happened last year. This year, they actually did count the wins on whoever won on the pre-show matches. Because remember in 2018, I guess there was some botch where I guess, the Raw's tag team 5-on-5 tag team match between the 5 tag teams and 5 tag teams from Raw and SmackDown. I guess they botched it, and Raw was supposed to win that. For some reason, the Usos won it, but they kept saying that match did not count because the storyline was that Raw had to sweep SmackDown in order to, for Baron Corbin to keep his job at Survivor Series in 2018. So they claimed that it didn't count. This pre-show did count. So with this happening, that was one win for SmackDown. But once again, didn't really do much for me at all. And speaking of which, also, with this being a Raw, SmackDown, and NXT show, they had, I think, one member from each brand on commentary the entire show. And I must also mention, Corey Graves definitely gained a lot of heat around this time because I guess he did go on Twitter and say some rude things to Mauro Ranallo, who we all know does have depression issues. And Mauro actually just appeared off TV for a couple weeks. Not as long as he did previously when JBL bullied him, but I don't know, guys. I am slowly more and more just losing more respect for Corey Graves, especially for that, and also for how he just went on Twitter and just bashed CM Punk after his UFC match with Mike Jackson, whichever UFC it was. So I don't know, but I had to get that out there because I forgot that happened around this time. It would have been nice for sure to have Mauro on this show, but unfortunately, because Corey Graves ran his mouth and just bullied him like he did on Twitter, and because again, like, depression's not something to laugh about. It's not something to joke about or take for granted for sure. So I'm definitely disappointed that he was not able to be on this show, of course. But yeah, so I had to get that out of the way as well. But yeah, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode won this Cross Team Battle Royale. Match number 2. And I did lie. I forgot about this matchup. I didn't watch it, so give me a good reason why. But back at Clash of Champions review, I said that was the last time the Cruiserweight Championship was defended on a main roster show. Well, that is actually a lie because it actually was defended on the pre-show right here. But this is when it was now called the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. It was, again, a superstar from each brand because they're all triple threat matches except for a couple of them. Lio Rush from NXT took on Akira Tozawa of Raw, which, once again, why the heck is Akira Tozawa on Raw? Why didn't they just keep him on 205 Live? I don't get why they took him out of the Cruiserweight division at all. And he took on, and then also Kalisto's involved in this match from SmackDown. I didn't get to see this match. I know that Lio Rush did win to retain the Cruiserweight Championship. That's all I can really say about it. Again, I didn't watch the match. And then the third match, a match I thought was supposed to be on the main show, but it was not. It was the Tag Team Champion versus Tag Team Champion versus Tag Team Champion triple threat match. Another one of the triple threat matches we got here. The Raw Tag Team Champions, the Viking Raiders, the New Day's Kofi Kingston and Big E for SmackDown, and NXT's Tag Team Champions Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish from the Undisputed Era. Keep in mind, Kofi Kingston was just world champion a month ago, and he's on the pre-show now. Wow. Because originally this is supposed to be the Viking Raiders, the Undisputed Era, and the Revival, but then the Revival dropped the tag titles back to the New Day on an episode of SmackDown. So obviously this is when WWE was starting to give up on them and trying to re-sign them because they kept saying that they wanted out, but they put the belts back on the New Day, and I think they still are SmackDown Tag Team Champions. I drew a blank for a second, forgot that they were still champs or not, but yeah, they are, don't worry. No, wait, what am I thinking? No, what am I thinking? Wow, the Dirt Sheets are champions, Miz and Morrison! Hey, oh ho, Miz and Morrison! Hey, oh ho! I actually do dig that chant that they do. But anyways, I didn't get to see this match either. The Viking Raiders won, I don't know why, and they pinned Undisputed Era. I do not agree with that call, whether this was on the main show or the pre-show. To me, they should have, again, the Undisputed Era should have definitely won all the matches they were involved on the show, for sure. And honestly, pinning New Day would have been fine, even though, once again, the Viking Raiders just had the life sucked out of them because of their stupid name change. So I don't know why that happened. So yeah, I didn't like this match. I mean, I didn't get to watch this match, but one, I don't like the idea of it because one, Kofi Kingston was on the pre-show, and two, the Viking Raiders won, and they pinned the Undisputed Era, which I'm like, this should not have been the case. That was the worst case scenario to do, having them pin the Undisputed Era. Again, they should have pinned. They should have had New Day eat the pin, I thought, in this match, which was Undisputed Era winning. But Raw won that. So what's the point of these pre-show matches if the score is going to be 1-1 to One. I don't know, because I needed a third hand or something there. So that we had 3 pre-show matches, each of them won. But remember, this time it did count. Don't forget, guys, it did count. So so that's all that happened on the pre-show. Was there anything else that happened on the pre-show? Nope, not that I can see. But also keep in mind, this match was the only win for Raw. Based off the storyline, they could have just switched the results on this, and Raw not winning at all would have been just fine, because it went along with just the storyline with what was told the following night on Raw for sure, which led to the birth of the Monday Night Messiah that Vince McMahon has to say 50 times every single week, because that was his idea. Just like WrestleMania, a show too big enough for one night. We heard that how many times on Raw this past week, and it drove me crazy, people. But here's my number, so call me maybe. Just kidding. But yeah, so those were our 3 pre-show matches. So we move on to the main card to have 6 matches on the main card. The first match, which by the way, I must mention this. The build to this pay-per-view was pretty good, because having NXT involved, having them come in and invade. Again, that first episode after Crown Jewel, was awesome. Definitely the best episode of SmackDown since SmackDown moved to Fox. NXT literally took over that night, and it was just an off show. Well, mostly because a lot of people were not able to get out of Saudi Arabia, so they had to improvise. But it was an awesome show. But like you're saying, if it wasn't for NXT being involved on this show, I probably would not have given it the grade I gave it. But I also was kind of bothered by, for the 5-on-5 elimination matches, why was Team NXT not made official till this weekend? I don't know why that was the case. I guess maybe since they had 2 shows. I don't know, but who knows? But the first match on the main show was the 5-on-5 women's elimination match. For Raw, it was captained by Charlotte Flair. Her teammates were the Kabuki Warriors, the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Asuka and Kairi Sane, Natalya, and Sarah Logan. Okay. SmackDown was captained by the boss herself, Sasha Banks, and her teammates were 3 blondes and 1 non-blonde. See the trend there? Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Nikki Cross. And then Team NXT was captained by Rhea Ripley, and her teammates were Bianca Belair, Candice LeRae, sexy Io Shirai in that black attire, gotta say it, and Toni Storm from NXT UK, which I did like having Toni in this. I'm glad. I wish they would have at least this match and then the men's match only had 1 member of NXT UK. I would have liked to see Imperium get involved in that tag match or something. Give 1 or 2 more stars I felt from the UK, involved in this show as well. But they still did some, which I could say I was fine with. Although I will talk about the booking of Walter when we get to the men's Survivor Series match. This match was weird. It was a very, very weird match, based off of how they booked 2 people on NXT's team. So, some spots I did like in this match. They did have a brief showdown with Kairi Sane and Io Shirai. That is still a dream match of mine. Again, we were originally supposed to get that at TakeOver Toronto, like I said, but because they called up Kairi Sane, they had to change the plans a little bit, which is, we kind of got it here instead. Obviously, they had some continuity there with the storytelling from Asuka and Charlotte Flair not getting along recently, and of course Asuka turned on Charlotte, set up for the main event for TLC, which we'll talk about that on the next review. I thought Sasha Banks had a pretty good performance in there for sure as well. I thought she had a dominant performance as well. Everything else about this match was still weird. Also Rhea Ripley, of course, I thought shined in this match, definitely. We had teases of her and Charlotte. She did actually pin Charlotte in a match on SmackDown. I think it was SmackDown or Raw, whichever brand. No, it had to been Raw, because the brand split was dead by now. The brand split was, the wild card rule was dead. It stopped. It was over. Thank the Lord, it was gone. But I know at some point Rhea Ripley did pin Charlotte in a tag match. We have a tease for it because now we're getting a match at WrestleMania. Of course, we did have some offense with Rhea Ripley and Sasha Banks, which I thought was awesome. But no eliminations happened because, well, the first time it was taken out of the match for some reason was Candice LeRae and Io Shirai. I'm not sure if they got injured, or I read a rumor they both may have fainted, or if they're just protecting them because there were two people who were involved. Well, even though Bianca and Rhea were also, but I guess because these two, well, especially Candice, because Candice and Rhea were heavily involved in that Elimination Chamber match because, well, the both of them, it was a 4-on-2 match because of the turn by Dakota Kai, and she took out Tegan Nox. So they were both taken to the back, like somewhere in the match. So which was a little bit, struck me as random. So I'm not sure what happened there. We'll get back to them shortly. So they were the first two out of the match. The first actual elimination was when Nikki Cross eliminated Bianca Belair. And then Bianca would then eliminate Sarah Logan, which, here's the other thing too. Why the hell was Sarah Logan in this match? Did they really have nobody else? Did Raw seriously have nobody else to put in this match, so they just picked Sarah Logan? Like, 'cause I'm sorry, like, you know, what's she done? Like, by herself, I hate to say it, she's nothing. Like, she should be back in NXT. They barely gave her any time in NXT before they brought her up as a member of the Riot Squad. I do not get her at all. And I'm sorry, because I was reminded, I had not seen this finisher in a long time. She did her finisher. It was a goofy looking botch, I remember. Her Kentucky knee. I'm sorry, I hate that finisher. I think it's dumb. It's stupid. And then instead of going to pin, I think who she did it on, I can't remember who she did it on, but it looked like it was something that was supposed to happen. She hit the Kentucky knee, but instead of just going to pin them, she just like stood there and just trashed them, and then just the table turned on her and she got eliminated. So I was just like, okay, whatever, back to, you know, catering for you, but pretty much it was. So Sarah Logan was the first actual elimination besides Io and Candice being, you know, removed from the match to just have like an apparent injury or something, who knows. Carmella would then get eliminated by Charlotte Flair. And then Sasha Banks did some weird thing here. It looked like Kairi Sane had the pinfall on Dana Brooke. I can't remember what it was. It was weird. Sasha Banks... No. It wasn't a pinfall on Dana Brooke. Kairi Sane was pinning someone from NXT, I think it was. But Sasha Banks broke up the pinfall. Like, why would you break up a pinfall if someone who's not on your team was going to get eliminated? That was, I remember seeing that, and that I thought was weird. But she would then take that for advantage, for her to eliminate Kairi Sane. And then Asuka would then eliminate Dana Brooke. I don't know why, she was in the match again. And then this is where the fallout with Asuka and Charlotte happened. Asuka walked out on the match after she got into a heated exchange with Charlotte, and then spit the green mist in her face, which would then lead to Lacey Evans to throw in that vicious women's right that I know Vince McMahon just drools all over, because this is also during a time where they were awkwardly like having Lacey Evans go back and forth between babyface and heel for a few weeks before, like, now they're forcing her as a babyface, and again, as I keep saying, it is not working. But she would eliminate Charlotte after Charlotte takes the green mist to the face. And then Natalya was quite vicious in this match. You heard her in the ring calling some people bitches, pretty much. She even did that to Lacey Evans, I know, for starters, and I think to either Bianca or Rhea. It is, I can't remember, or I can't remember who it was, but she called a couple people that I'm like, dang, Natty. It's like she had like definitely a vicious attitude in her in this match, I thought. But Natty would eliminate Lacey Evans. And then Sasha Banks and Natalya did a double submission to eliminate Toni Storm. And then Sasha eliminated Bianca Belair. And then at the time, it looked like it was just one member of each team left. Rhea Ripley from NXT, SmackDown had Sasha Banks, and Raw had Natalya. And it looked like Natty and Sasha were going to double team on Rhea, which at first I'm like, why would this happen if what's it called? if Sasha made a return and turned on Natty, like, like, why would they trust each other? But of course that happened because Natty walked right into the trap and Sasha turned on her and pinned her. And then it came down to Rhea Ripley and Sasha Banks. But then it was weird. Io Shirai and Candice LeRae came back out. But the thing was were they still involved in the match? Because they were more so pulling off heel tactics to help Rhea win the match. Which was kind of fine if they were doing this for Io, but then that's kind of out of character for Candice LeRae, and Rhea Ripley is just meant to be a badass right now, winning matches and not pulling heel tactics. So that was weird, kind of pulling Team NXT off as heels with this. I thought was weird. It eventually did lead to Rhea Ripley getting the pinfall victory, which I felt was necessary for Rhea to get the win again. This was right when they're about to give her the monster, push, and they're just heating her up big time to be taking the NXT Women's title off of Shayna Baszler. That she did in a month later. So I again, the booking of this match was weird. Had the right outcome though. But again, the stuff again with like Candice and Io was odd, and again, I was there's a couple little botches I thought in the match, but the right person went over, as I keep saying. So Team NXT wins this match, so now it is 2-1. Even though once again, shouldn't the pre-show matches not count because they didn't count a year ago? Just saying. Let's check the live chat first before we move on. We have Tyler saying Ray should have been on SmackDown and Bray on Raw. Maybe. It was like when AJ Styles was on the pre-show on Clash of Champions. Oh gosh. No, that was worse. Don't get me started on that again. And of course, because Robbie knows how much I like this, but I must sing this because you know this didn't happen until Portland, but how much fish could Bobby Fish fry if Bobby Fish could fry fish? I missed fish fries also, by the way. But I did have Long John Silver's the other night for dinner also, which was awesome. Or like when Byron Saxton was so cheesy and happy promoting the W Network with those damn no cards, you're right. And Team SmackDown was basically Sasha Banks, 3 blondes, and the wrong woman from Sanity to the wrong woman from Sandy to Cross. Oh yeah, it's probably referring to whenever Tainara Conchi was trying to be like the female member of the Undisputed Era, and whenever they were feuding with Sanity. That's of course the reason why Robbie has her as his YouTube contact picture, for sure. But thank you for yourself in the live chat as always, guys. The next match was another triple threat match. It was basically the mid-card title triple threat match. It was AJ Styles from Raw, the U.S. champion, Shinsuke Nakamura from SmackDown, the Intercontinental champion. This was right after also, I believe, around the time when the new Intercontinental title design was brought out, which I do like, and Roderick Strong from the Undisputed Era, the NXT North American champion. I thought this match was good. It's definitely 3 guys who I think, when booked right, would have excellent chemistry. Of course, again, with AJ and Shinsuke, even though their feud was kind of disappointing in 2018. And the thing also is, I thought the match was good, again. But I think I would have rather seen babyface Roderick Strong in this match rather than heel Roderick Strong. Roddy did get the win, though. He stole the win from AJ Styles, and he had his moments in the match. But I felt, again, my thing is still is, the Undisputed Era has proven they could win matches clean without any cheating or interference. Roderick Strong, I feel like, still is being booked like that person who can't win matches clean without any interference. And that's a shame because before he turned heel, he was able to do that. Remember his match with Bobby Roode, like the first or second week after TakeOver Brooklyn 2? It was pretty much Brooklyn 3. Brooklyn 3. It was Roode's last match in NXT. Roddy won clean, and Roddy had several great clean victories. And I think that's what I think we'd rather have seen with this match is the babyface Roderick Strong, but we did not get that, unfortunately. But I'm not going to complain too much about it. But I'm glad that Roddy won. I think a lot of people thought AJ would win this match, But to me, I thought all members of the Undisputed Era should come out of this show looking victorious for sure, since, as I've always said, the bar was set very high for them in NXT, so why not give them all the victories? I mean, that was not the case for the tag title triple threat match, but Roddy got the win here, which I thought was very nice to see. He got the win after Styles hit a phenomenal forearm on Nakamura, which someone would have also, I wish someone would have shut up Sami Zayn, of course, in this match, because again, he just runs his mouth and just to get his ass kicked, which just annoys me at this point. But Roddy got the win here, which I thought was the right move to do, so that's why I give this match a little credit. Again, it was not bad, but expected better, I would say. But that's what we got from that match. This next match, one of the best matches of the night for sure. Adam Cole versus Pete Dunne for the NXT Championship. Now, of course, Adam Cole was just in the match the night before, took that nasty bump at the end of the match against in the War Games match, and Pete Dunne got this opportunity defeating his recent rivals Damian Priest and Killian Dane in a triple threat match at War Games the night before. So they did kind of like sell that both these guys were kayfabe working this match hurt, which is good and makes sense. Even with so, these guys still put on an excellent match. We all know how great Pete Dunne is. You know, the great run he had in the UK, helping being one of the founding fathers to build that brand. Even outside that, Pete Dunne is just always going to put on an excellent match when he goes out, no matter who his opponent is. And Adam Cole, again, 2019 was the year of Adam Cole in WWE and NXT in period. He got to the NXT Championship. He had great matches with Johnny Gargano and a lot of other superstars. But especially the build to this show, he had matches with Seth Rollins on Raw, which was not really the best, probably the weakest matches of all the great matches he had this year. But the one match that still stands out to me, that match he had on SmackDown with Daniel Bryan. Excellent. Just an excellent match. I would say my top 10 or even top 5 for match of the year candidate, I would say for sure. But these two still went out there and put on an NXT level caliber match. A match you would expect to see from these two on pay-per-view. And it was just nice to see that they were able to do that in like this different environment with, Vince McMahon running a show that the crowd is going to just, get drained out on eventually, especially when you have 4 nights in a row of shows in the same arena. But I felt this was one of the matches that really woke up the audience and got them going for sure, I would say. Adam Cole retained, though, as I expected, but this was a good treat, and, another opponent, again, kind of giving, even though I said before, get some UK stars in there as well. I mean, Pete Dunne had transitioned back to working in NXT full-time again. This is kind of like, another representative from the UK as well, because, that's where he came from. But an excellent match. Definitely one of the strongest matches. I'd say this is probably either the best match or the second best match of this show, I would say. Was also a pretty good match, I thought, was this next match, another title match, the Universal Championship match. Of course, the first match with the Blue Universal Championship on the line. The Fiend Bray Wyatt taking on Daniel Bryan. The story in going to this match was awesome. And, of course, doing a lot of, throwbacks in this match, because these two, of course, do have history. Again, Bray Wyatt is trying to prove that the people that have hurt him in the past could not hurt him anymore. And, of course, one of those people he feuded with was Daniel Bryan. But at this time, Daniel Bryan was slowly transitioning back to being a babyface and kind of finding who he truly is. And, he ventured away from the Yes movement because he felt that was hurting his career. But obviously, he was starting to feel empathy and more understanding with the audience again. So he at some ways, was kind of accepting the Yes movement, but he didn't want to accept it at the same time because he was gaining that soft spot for the fans again. And I like how in this match, they brought back all the memories, and the spots like we seen from the years before. Especially, of course, the slow, the gradual yes. That was basically reminiscing of still one of my favorite moments as a wrestling fan. That night in Providence, Rhode Island, I think it was sometime in January of 2014, when Daniel Bryan had turned on Bray Wyatt inside that steel cage match, and that explosive attack and assault that Daniel Bryan had unleashed on Bray Wyatt. Of course, they kind of repeated that, at TLC next month. We'll get that when we talk to TLC. But that was kind of just like a preview of that to come. But this was Daniel Bryan again, still in search of who he is. Still trying to, embracing the yes movement, but also avoiding it at the same time. Now, of course, the one only downside of this match, again, was the red light. Because, that red light is just too much, I feel. I mean, I like that they're doing something different, giving that more of an effect. But to me, it still is just a tad too much, in my opinion, I would think. But, as said so, Bray Wyatt won the match, as we expected. But it was not the end to the feud. But still, a good match. I would say probably out of the 3 matches they've had on pay-per-view, this one was probably their weakest. I would still say the match at Royal Rumble 2014 was their best match. The match at Rumble 2020, their second best match. This match probably their weakest, but I still thought it was a good match. But as of course I predicted, The Fiend Bray Wyatt would win this match. Throughout the show, also, rather mention this, we had a couple segments with Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens backstage. During the build to this, this leads into our next match, which was the men's 5-on-5-on-5 elimination match. But obviously, one of the stories was Kevin Owens had appeared on NXT the night before as the fourth member of Team Ciampa. And of course, Triple H had tried to recruit both of them to NXT in the build here. So obviously there was questions as whether one of them would turn on, Team Raw and go to NXT and be on Team NXT, which I thought was a chance for both of them that could happen. I definitely saw it for either one of them, based off of where Seth Rollins had fallen into his character. And also with Kevin Owens kind of being directionless, even though he's kind of had direction for months now, but in just a very dragged out feud now with him and Seth Rollins. But we had those backstage segments, and of course also we also had another segment for the Universal Title match with The Miz telling Daniel Bryan to put a stop to the Fiend as well. But again, that was kind of like setting up for the match at TLC with the Fiend and with the Fiend and the Miz. But we'll talk about that, of course, when we get to TLC. Rather mention those. But anyways, so we also had backstage interviews with Becky Lynch and also with Rey Mysterio here and there as well. Hyped their matches. The next match, though, was one of the matches I felt should have main evented the show. Instead of what we got. This was the 5-on-5-on-5 men's Survivor Series elimination match. For Team Raw, it was captained by Seth Rollins, and his teammates were Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, and Ricochet. For SmackDown, it was captained by the big dog, Roman Reigns, King Corbin, who was trying to be team captain in the leader because he was the king, Chad Gable, not Shorty G, Chad Gable, Braun Strowman, and I think this is the last time we've seen him, but Mustafa Ali. And Team NXT, which was not announced till the day of the show. I think you can kind of consider the team captain to be Tommaso Ciampa. His teammates were Damian Priest, Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, and the United Kingdom champion himself, Walter. Here's the one gripe I had about this match, and that was the booking of Walter. Yes, he was in there. I think he had a couple moments like Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. I can't remember if he had any moments with anybody on SmackDown, but he was the first one to be eliminated, which I thought was not the best move. If there was anyone I felt should be eliminated first, honestly, from NXT, I would have been okay if Damian Priest was the first to be eliminated. I mean, I like that they include him in this match to give him a rub with an upcoming talent, but he was the one that, I expected the least from in this match, I will say. So I would have rather had him be eliminated first, from NXT at least. But he was the first one who got eliminated. Of course, there were storylines involving Kevin Owens, wondering if he was still loyal to his team or if he was still loyal to NXT. There was a moment in the match where he had a choice whether the Frog Splash either Tommaso Ciampa or the Frog Splash Chad Gable from NXT, and he did choose Chad Gable over Tommaso Ciampa. So he chose SmackDown to go after around NXT, which Owens didn't eliminate Gable that match. But then it looked like things were fine. But then Ciampa would then turn on Owens, even though Owens hesitated to turn on him. But Ciampa turned on Owens and eliminated him with the Willow's Bell, his draping DDT that he does. Damian Priest would get into the match for a little bit, but Orton would eliminate him. But then, a nice surprise, Matt Riddle eliminated Randy Orton, which I think the crowd popped really good. Orton didn't like that. He hit an RKO on Riddle, which was weird. This is around the time where Orton randomly turned face briefly. But then after Orton RKO'd owed him, Baron Corbin tagged himself in and pinned Matt Riddle. And of course, the story of this match from the SmackDown side was King Corbin was trying to run this match how he wanted to do, but of course nobody wanted to listen to him, so other people were being punished for not bowing down to the King, if you know what I mean. We also had a nice tease between Braun Strowman and Keith Lee, which I thought that was awesome because that's definitely a dream match. But then Braun Strowman also got eliminated by countout because we gotta protect him. He can't take another loss. At this point, he's taken how many losses at this point? There's no use in protecting him because you're not going to get anywhere with him. So Braun got eliminated by countout as usual. King Corbin went and eliminated Ricochet. Seth Rollins eliminated Mustafa Ali. And then Roman Reigns eliminated Drew McIntyre. So I think it came down to, at this point, who was left was King Corbin, Tommaso Ciampa, Seth Rollins, Keith Lee, and Roman Reigns. So, one Raw member, 2 from NXT, and 2 from SmackDown. Because it was just McIntyre and Seth before McIntyre got eliminated. But then, of course, because, King Corbin was trying to dictate the match, I think Corbin actually costed Mustafa Ali his spot, which would lead to Seth Rollins eliminating him because he would not Ali would not listen to King Corbin's orders. But Roman finally got tired of it. He speared Corbin, which they were at the beginning of their god-awful, never-ending feud. We'll talk about that when we get to TLC. And he basically let Tommaso Ciampa pin King Corbin to get him out of the match. And then it came down to just the final 4. Seth Rollins from Raw, Tommaso Ciampa from NXT, Roman Reigns from SmackDown, and Keith Lee from NXT. This is when Keith Lee really shined in this match and became the moment maker. Some good back and forth, but then Ciampa was going to get eliminated by Seth Rollins. And then the biggest pop of the night, I would say, came when it came down to when Keith Lee and Seth Rollins went at it, and then Keith Lee, who just shined in this moment, eliminated Seth Rollins clean. And of course, the crowd was booing Seth during this match. And this is right before WWE just rolled with the crowd and would turn Seth Rollins heel, like on the Raw after this, when he basically trashed Raw for being awful, saying that he's the leader of Monday Night Raw and playing off the role he is the top guy, which he was the top guy at this point. But to have Keith Lee eliminate him was huge, and the crowd just went, as Enzo Amore called whenever he picked up that chair in Brooklyn, the crowd just went ape shit. The crowd just went nuts over this, and it came down to Keith Lee and Roman Reigns, and I'm just like, okay, if Roman still beats Keith, like, Keith already won over in this match. Like, he had his shining moments in the match for sure, showing off his agility and whatnot, but, like, him just eliminating Seth just topped him off. Again, that moment there dubbed Keith Lee, not just the limitless one, the moment maker. And he had a good back and forth sequence with Roman Reigns. There was a couple botched near falls, I would say, because they would look like twice. It looked like that the ref did count to 3, but these 2 did kick out of it. Keith Lee was able to kick out of 2 Superman punches, and he also was able to hit a spirit bomb on Roman Reigns, which I thought he had it. But then, unfortunately, it's not the case. It was close, but then Roman Reigns would spear Keith Lee. Keith sold it like a pro, I would say. He sold it really well. Roman Reigns gets the pinfall victory to be the sole survivor and win it for Team SmackDown, which, I was fine with that. Again, I feel like, NXT, for the most part, well, Tommaso Ciampa looked good in this match. Damian Priest, I didn't think he was going to do too much. Matt Riddle got to eliminate someone, which I was fine with that. Again, I was not a fan of how they booked Walter. But Keith Lee, getting the moment he got in this match, I thought was amazing. He was definitely the one person that's been hot and getting the momentum going for sure. And if there was anyone who deserved to really stand out of all the rest of his 5 teammates, it was definitely Keith Lee. This was like a career-making moment for him, I would say for sure. And after the match, Roman Reigns got up, showed Keith the sign of respect, gave him a fist bump for sure, which I appreciate that as well. Roman was the sole survivor though, and of course he would go on the feud with King Corbin after this. Again, Seth Rollins returned heel the following night on Raw in that town hall meeting he had, basically trashed everyone because Raw didn't win anything on the main show. They just won one match on the pre-show and that was it. But Keith Lee, again, he was definitely the star of this match for sure. But Roman Reigns would get the pinfall victory. I think it would have been nice to see Keith maybe kick out of one spear. It would have been nice to see, but I think it may have been a little too soon with that because I think they would have set the bar a little bit too much higher for Keith. Because after this, Keith will go on to win the North American Championship, and now he's currently the Limitless North American Champion. Awesome match, though. A lot of great moments for sure. Again, other than Braun getting eliminated by count out, and the bad booking of Walter, still gotta say this was definitely one of the best matches of the night for sure. I gotta say. But that's my thoughts on this match. Sorry, I was checking my computer for something else. The next match was also really good. I actually really enjoyed this feud. It was a no-holds-barred match for the WWE Championship. Brock Lesnar and Rey Mysterio. Brock had been going after... Brock had feuded with Cain Velasquez, which we all know that was all awful. But then it kind of transitioned over into a feud with him and Rey Mysterio. And also Brock had been attacking Rey's son, Dominic. And the build for this was great. And the match itself I thought was pretty good too. Rey's son, Dominic, even got involved in the match as well, trying to help Rey take out Brock. Because there was no holds barred, anything goes. And Dominic looked awesome in this match. He actually hit a frog splash. He had a 619. You could tell he is getting ready to be a full-time wrestler again. I think I've heard rumors he is training with Lance Storm and a few others, but he looked great in this match. I mean, yes, obviously, we knew Rey was not going to take out Brock single-handedly, but obviously this was both of them getting their comeuppance on Brock. Usually I would not be a fan of this. I thought it was great. There was weapons used in there. They did bring in Rey's signature lead pipe that he had been using on Brock Lesnar in the build for this match. And again, Rey had a more serious side to him definitely shown in the build for this. So I gotta say, this was great. Brock would get the win though, as we expected to, but I like the exchange that Rey and Dominic had going after Brock, and still making them both look strong in this loss for sure. But definitely another match I think that could have main evented the show would have been fine with it. But the actual main event we got was the Women's Championship Triple Threat Champion versus Champion match. Shayna Baszler from NXT taking on Becky Lynch, taking on Bayley. Now, obviously around this time, again, of course we're getting the match at Mania. I still think the match, again, in my fantasy card predictions, this should have just been Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler. Bayley being involved was just telegraphing the finish right away. Bayley was just going to be the weak champion taking the pinfall, as I expected, and that's what happened. No one cared about this match, unfortunately. This was more of a match that would benefit from being in the middle of the card rather than being the main event. This was, I get it, this is one of the better built matches for the show. There was no need for this match to be the main event. The only reason, and I'm sure most of us thought the same thing, the only reason why I thought this match was main event at first, because I thought there was a chance that Ronda was going to come back. Ronda could have came back, and I thought this could have been where they set up for the 4 Horsewoman versus 4 Horsewoman match. But I saw it as impossible, because this was around the time where, 1, Ronda nearly lost her finger, legitimately almost lost her finger, and 2, Ronda's trying to be a mommy and have babies. So I figured that probably won't happen, but I got my hopes up when they had this be in the main event. This match wasn't really anything that special, unfortunately. It was slow, it was meh, the crowd crapped on it. The right person won, though, in Shayna Baszler, but as I predicted, she would pin Bayley to get the victory. And afterwards, Becky Lynch attacked her, saying, "You did not beat me," because WWE has a happy ending, even though we've had plenty of pay-per-views not have happy endings. So one moment, I don't have to worry about, gotta have a happy ending. Bull crap. Probably because, the crowd was not behind this. But obviously it would kind of set up, a little bit more heat for, and obviously get me more excited to want to see a future matches where we are getting at WrestleMania with Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler. But the final score was hold on, I gotta answer this text. Hold on. Alright, anyways. My parents waited for me downstairs to watch a show. Anyways, so the right person won. The final score was NXT 4, SmackDown 2, Raw 1. I think they could have gone away with just having, Raw not win any of them, because it would still, make the storyline perfect for going into Raw the next night, leading the Seth Rollins heel turn, which would have worked great. But that Survivor Series, guys, again, NXT went over, which is what I wanted to see, and I'm glad that's what should have happened. If it was for NXT, I probably would have given this show a C. But because NXT went over and some people had some good moments, especially, of course, Keith Lee, I gave this show a B-. 80% I would give it, for an actual grading. A B- for Survivor Series. Let me see if we get into live chat, and I gotta go downstairs because my parents are waiting to watch a show. Where were we at? Charlotte was treated like a... She thought that Charlotte was treated like a bitch in that women's match. Possibly. AEW and NXT are on. That is true. I'll definitely check them out. There's nothing for Daniel Bryan to do on SmackDown. I mean, right now, the scene with him and Drew Gulak is interesting to me. Or, sorry, no speak English. Bray should not have been a Universal Champion yet. Kind of agree, for sure. I thought the Survivor Series match was solid, but the strap match was incredible. Very gritty and raw. Oh, yes, that's why I kept saying that was the second best match. The Survivor Series match was their weakest, but still great. That red light was when Kane back in 97. Tyler actually wanted Riddle to be eliminated first. Yikes. I kind of disagree, but whatever. I want JBL on SmackDown commentary. I do not like JBL. He does not like Shayna Baszler, saying she is ugly and she was not ready to be a main eventer. And he gave Survivor Series a D+. Again, to me, it was what it was show, but because, and again, because I said at the beginning of the show, I am sick of these brand supremacy Survivor Series. They have to stop. But because NXT was involved and it was different, and NXT got put over, that's why I gave this show a B-. But, guys, that's going to do it for now. That's my live review for Survivor Series 2019. Again, I'll be back up here definitely doing TLC tonight, and probably I'll do my AEW Dynamite review tonight also. But first, I'm going to go downstairs and watch the next episode of Survivor, which is currently on right now, but it is being taped, so I will be able to watch that as soon as I get downstairs. That's going to do it for this episode. Again, B- for Survivor Series. Next will be TLC. TLC was definitely my second worst pay-per-view of 2019, but we will talk about that when we get to that show. So guys, what were your thoughts on Survivor Series 2019? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Make sure as always to slap a like on the video, subscribe for more content on my channel, follow me on Twitter at DemandAir93, and with that guys, I am checking out. I'll see you guys all later on for Dynamite and TLC review. So until then guys, have a great night. Peace out everybody. Yeah!